The Texas Longhorns continue to stockpile elite talent in their quarterback room, and 2026 quarterback, elite quarterback, Dia Bell is the latest Longhorn quarterback commit. He explains why he chose the Longhorns, what role NIL played in his decision, and life as the son of an NBA veteran next on the 5-Star Flex. All right, Dia, what's going on, big dog?
Nothing much. How about you?
Man, I'm good, man. It's super hot in Atlanta. Is it hot down there?
For sure. It's super hot, super humid down here. I mean, compared to where I'm gonna be in college, it's probably not as humid over there, but it's definitely super humid down here.
All right, so let's talk about the Dia Bell story. So, where do you consider home, and what was it like growing up there?
I consider Florida home, honestly. I was born in Arizona. I moved around a lot. Obviously, my dad playing in the NBA, but mostly raised in Florida my entire life. So it's been great living down here. I wouldn't have asked to be anywhere else.
If there was any other city that you lived in that if you weren't so in love with Florida that you would like to live in, which one would it be?
Mm. I would want to say Los Angeles. I mean, I've only been out there a couple times. My parents love it out there too. Every time they visited, my mom loves it out there. But I haven't got to spend too much time out there. But I would love to stay out there and see what it's like out there.
Okay. So you're in Florida, you're playing big time high school football, and you've lived in multiple places. I'm sure you have friends all over the country.
For
What
sure.
makes Florida football different than the rest of the country?
I'd say the backgrounds that the kids come from down here. I mean, for me, I was fortunate enough to have a great background with my parents both playing college sports, coming up uh, very well on. But some kids down here have no option but to play football, and that's their only option out. So I feel like the culture down here is just to create dogs, and everybody else just kind of follows in behind it, generation after generation, and that's what makes Florida football what it is.
So with everybody knowing who you are and who your dad is, who your mom is, and the type of background you come from, was it hard for you to kind of be one of the guys when it came to playing sports, or did it just come naturally?
It came a little natural. I wasn't always really a spotlight type of guy, especially growing up playing basketball. Honestly, I was one of the smaller kids. I mean, I was just point guard, get us in and out of offense. I'll give you a good maybe double digits on a good day. But in football as well. Down here, I played for a smaller little league football team, so I was kind of more of a spotlight in that. But honestly, growing up, I wasn't much of a spotlight player. It was just kind of building behind the scenes and to where I am now.
So being that your dad was a longtime NBA veteran, Roger Bell, had a super good career. When did you flip the switch to know that your path was going to be in football?
Um, I'd probably say COVID year when you couldn't get in gyms anymore, really. And I kept pushing football. I mean, obviously you're outside more. You're able to do more stuff outside because you're not as close to people. Um, but that's kind of when I started taking football more seriously, and I kind of brought it up to my dad. I was like, I think this is what I want to do. And then it's the rest is history. I mean, now I'm here.
How was that conversation? Because I know I'm a dad, and I want my son to follow in my footsteps. How was that conversation with your dad, telling him like, Dad, I love basketball. I know I'm pretty nice with it, but I think football is going to be my path.
Um, I mean, it wasn't the easiest thing. Obviously, I don't know exactly from my dad's point of view how he felt about it. I know he always supported me through the entire process and my decision. Um, but I feel like he might have been a little bit heartbroken in the moment. It was definitely hard to break to him. But I mean, I feel like where I am now, if I didn't make that decision, I don't know where I'd be. So I'm glad I made it.
So this is my last question about basketball. So,
Mhm.
usually I ask the football guys, I say, hey, are you a hooper for real, or do you just play basketball? Are you like a 5-foul type of guy? I wouldn't have looked you up. Bro, you're a real hooper. Have you
Uh,
ever had thoughts about playing in college?
Oh, for sure. Growing up as a kid, I mean, my little brother is the basketball one of the family. So growing up with him, it was always basketball first until, like I said, COVID year, when I started taking football more serious. But growing up, it was always basketball, trying to go to one of the biggest basketball schools in the country, and that was kind of the goal. until, like I said, COVID year, and then switch kind of flipped, and then I ended up playing football.
So on the football field, you play quarterback. I think last year you were around like 122 completions, like 180 attempts. Like you had a really good completion percentage, 20 touchdowns, only 4 picks. Like you really put a full season together. At what point did the recruiting just go crazy when they saw the film?
I want to say that it kind of started going into my year.
Okay.
But I want to say like halfway towards mid-end of my year is kind of when it started to blow up a little bit. Because I was actually getting my film out there. Because in years previous, I was 8th grade, 9th grade. I was back up, getting reps behind the scenes, getting to play against guys that are like Little Jr., who's at FSU now, Damari Browns of the world. Another kid we had, Damani Fagan, that went to NC State, and some other kids that went to Missouri and West Virginia. Getting reps with those guys was always a privilege for me to be able to work against them and grow behind the scenes. But this year is kind of when I made my jump, and I put some film out for the coaches to be able to see, and that's kind of when I blew up.
Nice. All right. So if you had a choice between scoring the winning touchdown in the Super Bowl or hitting the go ahead 3 in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, which one do you think that you would choose?
I would probably say the game winning touchdown, honestly, because I feel like football, the amount of crowd you get in football now is not like no other, especially in college football now too.
Right.
But especially in the NFL, I mean, you got people watching all across the country, watching you play and stuff like that. But I definitely say game-winning touchdown just because of the people and the fans behind football right now.
Nice. If you could play any other position than quarterback on the football field, what would you play?
I want to say, I feel like I could play receiver, but I would honestly
Okay.
say that I would be sort of a safety. I'm not the fastest guy. I'm not the fastest guy in the world. I like to hit though, but I can also catch too, and I could freelance back there because playing quarterback growing up. I mean, it would only help me play that because I know what quarterbacks are looking at when, as a defense, we'd line up. So
Right.
I'd be able to kind of see what they're looking at and try and bait them into certain stuff. But I feel like safety is probably where I best fit besides quarterback.
All right. So having a quarterback mentality, if you play safety, what would be your favorite call?
If I played safety on the defensive side,
Yep.
I want to say cover 3.
Yeah, okay.
Cover 3 is probably go-to coverage for any basic worldwide football program.
Right.
As long as you have a safety that knows how to freelance those seams and the backers know how to hold off and not jump the flats too early. I mean, you could run a really good cover 3 and people could probably get messed up in it. So I probably say
Yeah,
cover.
yeah, for sure. All right. So look, you just committed to Texas, the Longhorns. They have a loaded quarterback room. Why Texas?
I mean, for me, it was honestly, Coach Sark has a great background on quarterbacks. Back at Alabama, I mean, obviously he's coaching the NFL too, so he has the whole 9 when it comes to coaching. And I mean, obviously, like you said, they got guys like Quinn Ewers and Arch Manning. And for me, it was kind of a no-brainer when you look into his background. But on top of that, knowing that the Manning family was very comfortable sending their prize to Texas was also another factor in like they have to know that they know what they're doing over there, or else he wouldn't be going there. So all those things kind of played a factor into it, and then also I just felt like I had a great fit with the culture around there. So those all play factors in me picking Texas.
Was there a particular day in your process that you just woke up that was like, you know what? That's like I'm a Longhorn. Or was it more so like you looked at all the schools and then you said, okay, you like kind of like I guess kind of weighed all your options like on the table and said, okay, is that school? Or did
Yeah.
you just wake up one day and say, I'm a Longhorn?
I wouldn't say it was one day I woke up. I know plenty of guys that have done that. But for me, I want to say that I'm fortunate enough to be able to go visit the schools that I would like to and see what fits me best. And so I kind of say I weighed out my options more. I kind of took my time with it. I made sure I was doing all my research on my background and going seeing the places I liked. to make sure I knew I was making the best decision for me. So I feel like I weighed out all my decisions.
At American Heritage, you play with some of the best talent in the country. Uh, like hands down, how much when you talk to your teammates and you talk to your friends is NIL playing into decisions on where guys go to college?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, for kids down here, at least, like I said earlier, kids that have no option but to play football to get out of the situations they're in. I mean, NIL is a huge thing. I mean, for schools like Miami trying to keep kids home now that they have a big NIL down here too. But I mean, for me, my advice to kids, I mean, go make sure you get the money that you feel like you should be getting, but make sure you're making the right decision to set you up in the long run. If that's your ultimate goal to play in the NFL, at least that was for me. And I felt like Coach Sark and Coach Milwee over in Texas could do the best job with me to get me there. That would be my sort of advice to kids. But NIL plays a great role in making decisions now.
And you kind of answered my next question, because I was going to say, for somebody who's already financially secure, how much does NIL play in that decision? But you already answered it. You're a guy that's thinking NFL, not NIL. And I thought it. And one thing I will say that was really impressive to me is that you looked at the quarterback room in Texas as a positive. See, a lot of people, when you see people negative recruit, they'll say, "Oh, well, you won't be able to play early, or you want this and want that." You're thinking, hey, I'm going to be the next great. So why would I not want to go where they have a really good track record of producing great quarterbacks? I think that's phenomenal.
Yeah, no, I mean, some people will shy away from it. I mean, I like to embrace it because honestly, you get to sit behind guys like Arch Manning and learn from him for a year or two, depending on how long he stays, and then guys like Trey Owens and then KJ Lacey, who's in the class before me. Being able to be behind those guys and probably redshirting as a freshman and learning the whole offense and the ins and outs of what they're trying to do will just only better prepare me to be ready when I get on the field ultimately. So I feel like that's kind of why I embrace it.
You just said something that I've never heard on my show. I've probably interviewed 60 of the top players in the country. You said red shirt. That is insane. I love it. You know why? Because you're thinking development. And I just think it's a real testament to who you are as a quarterback. And I just want to say thank you for coming on. Texas is getting a great one. And the fact that you're more worried about your development in the long term, I think you're going to be really successful in the future, man. So, man, shout out to your pops, shout out to your moms. They did a great job with you, dog.
Yes, sir. I appreciate that.
Hey, where can everybody find you on social media?
On Instagram, you can find me at DKB3. It's not the number, you gotta actually spell it out. And then on Twitter or X now, you can find me at Diabel3QB1. And then that's really about it.
All right, man. Deal, man. Thank you so much for coming on. We'll do it again before the season.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you having me.